Hello and welcome. My name is Andy Crook and I'm the creator of the Atomic Success Program. And I'm the host tonight for tonight's training on the subject that I have named Facts Tell, but Stories Sell. Every week I do a free business training on a topic. My mission is to help garage owners become more successful in business. I share with you the exact same methods I used to turn a 75k loss in my business into a modest profit in under 2 years, based on the principle of incremental gains and continuous improvement. The Atomic Success Program can produce massive results. All you need to do is follow the program. Tonight's training, we're going to talk about why in your marketing message you must use stories and how to build those stories to have the maximum effect. So I've called it Facts Tell, but Stories Sell. The reason being is that when I look at what garages normally do in their marketing messages, and this is no criticism of anyone in particular, and I'm not picking on anyone, but when I look at garages, including my own, what we tend to do, and it's almost like a default, is we tend to list our services. You see it time and time again. And I hadn't really noticed, and I was on a training course recently, and we were doing some business training, and we started to look at basically Facebook messages that garages were putting out there. And it is unbelievably common for garages just to list their services. And this is on paid ads. So you're a paid ad and you're telling them you're a garage and that you do garage stuff. Well, you're not really sending much of a message out there, are you? If you think about it like that. You might think that is exactly what you need to do. You need to tell the world that you do MOTs. Big deal. You need to tell the world that you do welding, if you still do that. But an increasing number of garages also are starting to say what tools and equipment they have. And they have a list of, we have this tool or what tool, expecting the customer, the non-expert if you like, to understand what the benefit of that tool is. So we'll get on to the next stage, if you like, or the next improvement you can have over just having a list of your services or the tools and equipment that you have or the facilities you have in your garage, what I would call the features. And that is moving on to benefits. And we've probably heard, if you've been on any kind of training course to do with business, you'll have heard about features and benefits. Tell them the features but explain the benefits. Well, the benefits are sometimes seen in garage marketing. Sometimes the garage that's a little bit more, shall we say, marketing savvy, is telling people about the benefit of having a certain tool equipment is that you can do the online service record and therefore maintaining the warranty of the vehicle. You can save customers money because you have X, Y, and Z. You can save them time. You're a local service that they don't have to travel into the biggest town to go to an alternative. Yep. You may have a courtesy car, and this is a benefit because they don't have to worry about not being without their vehicle. These are good things to explain, as opposed to a list saying, dealer tooling, access to online servicing. The customers don't understand that, but they may understand the benefit if you explain it. Taking that one step further is explaining the meaning. And what do I mean by the meaning? The meaning to the customer. The meaning of that benefit to the customer. So we take the feature, the benefit, and we explain the meaning. And the meaning can mean many, many things. And this, believe it or not, is incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult. Because very few garages do it. So you haven't got many people you can sort of have a look at and copy. Because most garages, as I've said, have just got have got features. Some have got benefits, very few have meaning. And it's an area that I've been working on increasingly over the last few months, because I've only myself become more aware of it since I started doing the research that I did to put together the Atomic Success Program, of which there's a module, effectively, it's a very short one, on marketing, yet it's very, very important. So what is the meaning? Well, the easiest way to get the meaning of features and benefits is to construct a story. And there are many, many reasons, too many to go into tonight, why stories in your marketing message are such a great idea. The first one is, how do you get noticed amongst everybody else that's effectively selling the same or a similar product or service on the World Wide Web or on Facebook or Instagram, etc., etc.? How do you stand out from everyone else? What makes you different? Why should a customer or potential customer use your services or products over someone else's? How do you stand out? And we'll do a training on the paradox of marketing. That's what I call it, the difficulty that everyone has, because everybody has access now to all the customers 24/7 all of the time on a mobile device that they're probably looking at right now. You're probably watching this on your phone, a tablet, or possibly a PC, because there's no other way to watch it. So how do I grab your attention? How do I be able to have 15 minutes of your kind attention, which I'm very grateful for? Hopefully you benefit from it too. But what's the meaning? What does this do? So we love a story. And if you start with a story or you explain something, it's more likely to capture someone's attention if you explain that you're going to tell them something and the reasons and the meaning for them. Remember, all your customers have got one favourite radio station. It's What's In It For Me FM. And that's what they're always looking out for. So if you're explaining what's in it for me, the meaning, they're more likely to give you a little bit more time and attention, because you're competing with everyone else. And that funny meme that's just come up has probably taken you away from my video. Or maybe not. Maybe I have got your attention because I'm about to tell you a story. Now, nobody I know, and I've asked a few people about this, didn't like having a story told to them when they were a child. So bedtime stories are incredibly important if we're parenting out there. I remember reading Harry Potter many years ago as a bedtime story, and that's the only reason I've ever read one of the books, is because I read it at bedtime. So you know how much your children look forward to that time with you, that precious time with you where you're reading the story. And there's many reasons, and there's been scientific research into why bedtime stories or any kind of story is such a powerful way of sending a message. Well, the human race has always depended on others for its very survival. And how we communicated that was through stories, through storytelling. We would tell people not to go near the big tiger, because the big tiger is likely to do you some harm. So we would convey that message through a story, possibly explaining how somebody else came to a bit of a misfortune going to pat the tiger. So we, as humans, and we're the only species on Earth that kind of tell stories and share our experiences in this way, we've developed powerful chemicals that are released within the brain when we start to hear a story. And it's called oxytocin. And oxytocin is sometimes called the safe chemical. And what it does is it's telling someone to know that this person is trustworthy, that it makes you feel safe around them. So sharing something of yourself in a story makes somebody know, like, and trust you. The know comes from the basic feature. The like maybe comes from the benefits, but the trust will come from the story that you tell. And if you've seen any of my other marketing talks in this series of articles, you'll know that marketing is all about know, like, and trust. Well, the trust element comes from your stories. And we've done a previous training where we talked about how you build trust through your testimonials and reviews. And that's what we're going to come down to today, and how we're going to use those to build our storytelling in our marketing. So when we tell a story, we need to follow a certain formula. Now, if you've ever seen any of the TED Talks, and if you haven't, they're well worth looking up on YouTube or whatever video platform, because a TED Talk always follows a particular formula, and that story is very similar, though the topic may be very different. How the TED Talk is delivered, that formula for telling that story, is always very similar. Often the person doing the presenting shares something very personal, or shares a fact little known about them in the TED Talk, and it's almost exclusive for that and that obviously becomes common afterwards. But that's where it's revealed. So they give something of themselves, something that nobody else knew apart from the audience and obviously everyone else who's watched it online. But in that moment, there's a connection made and there's trust built, because that person up there is vulnerable at that point and everybody else recognizes that, and therefore oxytocin is released and the safe chemical starts to be released in the brain. And that's what storytelling does. Now you can do the same thing. You don't have to be an expert speaker, you don't have to be doing a TED talk to use some of these sort of basic formulas for it. So when somebody's making a purchasing decision, when they're going to buy something, the decision to buy is done on emotion. The decision to buy is done on emotion, and we often justify afterwards with logic. So what are some of the emotions that our stories can start to convey within the person who's hearing it? Well, one of the big things with humans is we are very risk adverse. We have a massive fear of losing, and it's a very, very powerful emotion to start to bring up with someone, is when you show them how, if they did do something, they could risk losing something, or if they didn't do something, they could risk losing something. And just the thought of losing a substantial amount of money, which is often or time or a precious belonging, could make that person want to buy just based on that emotion. And what they'll be looking for after that is logic, reasons why they need to buy it. So, but the decision will be based almost certainly on emotion. Other emotions, you can do joy, pleasure, happiness, but what you must do is you must invoke some kind of emotion in your story. Give a little bit of yourself. So in my introduction I always say, we made a 75k loss. That's what I say. I'm giving a fact out. So people, why should we listen to this guy if his business is making a loss? Well, I didn't know that we were doing so poorly, and then I started measuring things. That's another story that you'll always hear me talking about, measure what matters. But that's what happened. I then had to do some research, and now I'm sharing those things with you. So the best method in your marketing of telling a story is your case studies. And every case study that you build should overcome an objection, and we'll get to that in a second. And the place to get your case studies from, if you think, oh God, Anne, I can't think of a case study, it's all right for you, you write them in magazine articles. It's easy for you, but it's easy for everyone. Pick your testimonials or a really good review, because this then goes back to what I talked about earlier in a previous training about why online reviews are so good. Word of mouth is the slowest way. Online reviews speeds up, because you've got stories, you've got results you can prove to people. Other people are saying that you did, and that's really good, because you can also in the story refer them back to the review. You give it some sort of qualification. There's some credibility to the case study because somebody else has shared it too. So there's a 3-step process to write in the case study for a story that you want to do in terms of using it within your marketing. So the 3-step process is it should contain the result, the transformation, and the product or service that you used to deliver that result and transformation. Really, really simple. So result, transformation, product or service. That's it. Okay, so I'll give you an example because we're running out of time. Where I'm based, here in South Wales, we live and our business is based in an area of outstanding natural poverty. So we are often, the objection we have to overcome quite often, we're often accused of being too expensive. That's the big objection we have to overcome. So a case study from about a week ago, I think. We had a Mercedes van come in. It was a Vito. It hadn't been used for a number of months. In fact, it had been parked up at the beginning of COVID. And then they tried to use it, and it kept on letting them down. It wouldn't start. It would start sometimes, wouldn't start other times, and nothing they could do could get it going. So they take it to other garages, and they spent over £2,500 on this van at those, shall we say, cheaper garages, and they still didn't have a van that was, they had any sort of faith in, because it didn't always start. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. And their testimonial to us was, they said, we fixed it in under an hour for less than 500 quid. And that is true. We diagnosed it, they had it back, we did a what I call a Columbo test on it, said make sure this works, because we've tried it a number of times within the hour, and now it's starting every time, whereas previously it wasn't. Go away, we'll order the part. If you're happy that it's fixed, we'll fit the part. The combination of both visits was less than an hour's work, and we fixed it. It had, and this is the truth, it had over £2,500 spent on it in quite expensive parts. The story that you can talk about this has to explain the customer's position. The result, we fixed it in under an hour. The transformation, we saved them over £2,000. So we're dealing with the emotion, the risk emotion, being risk averse, the fear of losing out, using our diagnostic assessment process. We test, we don't guess with your money. That is, obviously you flesh it out a bit, but if you wanted a short 2-minute video that will catch people's attention, it's a story, that's one, and that's how you do it. Obviously, if you want to then build a case study around it to go on the website as a news story, a Facebook post, you can then repurpose the same content around the place, and people will get to see that message. But remember, each case study must overcome an objection that customers have why they wouldn't buy from you in the first place. Ours often is price, but that's just an example how you can use a story. Notice in that story I didn't talk about what kit I used, didn't say anything else, didn't talk about the benefits in any way. What we talked about was the result, the transformation, and the product. Hopefully this has been of some use to you, and it's been worthwhile spending nearly 70 minutes, I do apologise, of your time listening to me. But if this training or any other video that I've done has made you think about how you run your business, then I've achieved my aim. If you think you need any help or support to implement any of the strategies that I talk about in your business, send me a message. We'll jump on a Zoom call and see if we can help you, or you can help us. But remember to put first things first, and if you should, you must. Thanks for watching. Thank you.